Okay. So today we'll do some applications of pigeonhole principle, some theorems we will try to prove, okay, using them. So let us go to the first thing, okay. So maybe I'll mention the topic, some applications of pigeonhole in theorems. Maybe I'll just emphasize the word because so far we have not proved anything mostly. Okay, so this will be the goal for this will take like 30 minutes maybe. Okay. Okay, so before I begin, are there any questions? Anyone? Okay, yeah. So Adish, this will be slightly slow paced for you. So you have to you have to see. Okay, never mind. Yeah. Okay. So first application is we want to see the nature of we want to see the nature of the decimal part of multiples of irrational numbers. Okay. So for example, you start with this irrational number root 2. Okay. And then you take integer multiples, and by multiples I mean integer multiples. So I'm going to take integer multiples of this. Yeah. So obviously we saw things related to this last time, that's why I'm doing this. For those who are not there, no problem, it's fine, you can understand because it's self-contained. So we are looking at this sequence. Okay, it's a sequence of these multiples of irrational numbers. Yeah, and basically what we want to show is the decimal parts, you will get all kinds of things in the decimal parts. Okay. And to make it slightly more formal, the question is, prove that, maybe I'll say show, okay, show that there is some n, okay, for which n times root 2 looks like, well, so whatever before the decimal to the left of the decimal or whatever, that I'm not really interested in now. But to the right, it will look like this. Doesn't really matter. I can put, let's say 6. Okay. At least 6 zeros will be there, and some, then after that, anything else can be there. Dot, 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 because it obviously will never end. Okay. So we want to show that the decimal part can be made as small as you can. Okay. Now, before we jump into discussing the thing, this is going to be extremely useful. Okay, even in the higher problems, periodicity of functions, and many questions. This is a very first standard result, and there are extreme variations of this. So, to the other advanced guys, I will give you the variations later on. Okay, but let us think about this now. I had given this question last time to try. So if anyone knows the full thing, tell us just a small hint so that we can all take a step forward together. Anyone knows? Anyone has thought of this? The other way in which this is usually given, they will say the fractional part, this notation, this means the fractional part. Okay, they will say like this, that the fractional part of n is less than equal to, this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So less than equal to 10 to the power minus 6. Am I right? Something like this. Yeah. So this is another way in which this question is put. So this may remind you of something. Just think, just So if any one of you would have tried with the calculator, I was expecting, then just after some steps, you would have got such a n. Yeah. No. Okay, so no one has a hint. Okay. So, I mean, once again, this n, as in the previous questions, this n will come not directly, but it will come as a difference of two n's. Okay, it will come as a difference of two numbers. Just like last time when we showed that, you know, we showed that, let's say you give me 57, then there is a power of 10, right? There is a power of 10, some power. I don't know what that power is. Well, I know, but let's say we don't know. So some power, 57 will divide that power. Remember, we did this kind of question. So this n didn't come directly, right? This came as a difference of something. So we are going to look at this sequence, and especially we're going to look at the decimal parts. But where are we going to look at it? That is very important. So let's see. 0 and obviously 1 only. Now I'm going to divide this. Okay, I'm going to, because all these fractional parts, right? All these decimal parts of the sequence, they will all lie in 0 to 1, right? And we want to show that one of them will be very, very close to 0. Okay, so how close? Obviously 10 to the power 6. So naturally, I will have to divide this like this. Oh, sorry. So you will not get this via calculator. Okay. Will you? No. I'm sorry. I think this you may not get. So yeah. Okay. Sorry. You will get, but you will take a very long time. It will not come. So how will I divide this? I will obviously divide my interval 0 to 1 in parts like this. Okay, 1 by 10 to the 6. Then, no, obviously this is 2 by 10 to the 6. And so on. Okay, 3 by 10 to the 6. And many, it will go on, right? It will go on till. Yeah, so this is a new idea. Okay, if you have not seen this, then this will be slightly new. Okay. 10 to the 6 minus 1 by 10 to the 6. And then 10 to the 6 by 10 to the 6 is 1. Okay. So before say anything further, is this clear how I'm dividing the interval? I'm dividing the interval 0 to 1 into 10 to the 6 equal parts. These are my kgs. Okay, the other people, Ishana and Unab, Varna, is it clear to you guys? Okay, this is very important. Okay, don't skip this thing. This is very important. Now you guys think. So these are my kgs. I have divided it into like these parts. Like last time our kgs were remainders, right? But this time our kgs are these distances. So again, to give us a hint if someone knows next step maybe, or thinks what can be the next step. Each interval, I should say. Say that again. Zero, and what is the next thing? But but how do you say that? Yeah, so that's what we want to show. Right? You want to show that the decimal part of sum n root 2 is between 0 and 1 by 10 to the power 6. No, so this is what we want to show, right? Yes, that is okay. So I should write show, but that is just what we want to show. But we are going to do this in a classical pigeonhole style, and this is like the mostly the only way. Yeah, in which this is done. It's simple enough. So if we want to do it classical pigeonhole style, then what should we do? We should obviously take till how much? We should take till 10 to the 6 plus 1 root 2. You guys agree? This is not a surprise. Yeah. So if I'm taking that many terms, then what can I say? So there are two terms which lie in the same cage, right? There are two terms in this list, right, which lie in the same cage. Clear? So this is hardly surprising, right? There exists M, maybe there exists A and B, such that B root 2 iska the decimal part of this. I'm just using this notation. It's just every time you write decimal part. The decimal part of this minus the decimal part of A root 2 is less than, okay, so this maybe I shouldn't say directly. So this, the decimal part of this is in some cage. So it will be some k by 10 to the power 6, k minus 1 by 10 to the power 6. And similarly, there is another one which is in the same cage. Now someone should try to complete this for me. This should be easy. So this, do you guys get this? Yeah, there will be two things which will, it may not necessarily, it will not be in the first cage. That's not what I'm saying. Okay. But we're just saying that two terms will be there in the same cage. That's all. Okay. And how does this look like? Well, this just says that B root 2, something, 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 that we don't care. After that, it will be something like maybe, I don't know, like 2, 3, 2, 9, 4, 6, something, something. And A root 2 would look like? Anyone? This A root 2 that we are talking about, how would this look like? In the first 6 places? It will be the same, right, as B root 2? Because that is what it means, right? For the difference to be in the same cage. Yeah, that is the key. That's the key thing here, right? Just think about this once clearly. Okay, so this is the reason why we have made this, why we made these cages. Okay, so we are looking for two numbers which first decimal place matches, second decimal place matches, third decimal place matches, and so on. Yeah, and this is fine. Yeah, and you can actually do the problem just like this. You can say that I will take this list and I will see the first two numbers so there will be infinitely many numbers whose first decimal places is the same, right? There will be like, there'll be infinitely many numbers, right, whose first decimal place is 1 maybe, or 2, something like that, right? Among those, you're going to pick infinitely many whose second decimal place is the same. And then among those, you're going to pick the first, no, infinitely many whose third decimal place is the same. And in this way, you will get two of them whose first 6 decimal places are the same. And that's another way to think about it. And I suppose that will be, if someone is creative, that will be the different way, a different way will come. I mean, I'm just saying a proof which is in the book. Okay. But right, by telling you guys, I'm just wondering that can be a way. Okay. So then we are done, right? Then if we subtract these two numbers, the bigger one, we subtract from the bigger one, the smaller one, then we are done, right? We take B minus A root 2. Yeah, in this, the first 6 places are going to be 0. After that also, it could be 0. Many terms could be 0. They will not be equal, but many terms could be 0. But that's not what we are concerned with. Okay. this is the first result of a series of results. Okay, harder and harder ones. This is the easiest of them. We'll only do this in this class. Okay, so just see if there are any questions. Okay, I have adopted the decimal notation because that makes things more clear. Okay. Huh. So someone please. Yeah, first 6 places. Yeah, that is. I was also. I didn't explain that part because I was finding a way to explain it and I couldn't. Let me think. Anyone can explain that, and I'll also try to explain it. Why A root 2 and B root 2 agree in the first 6 decimal places? My volume is down. Oh, is it? Oh, how can it be? No, your volume must be. Is my volume down? So Adish, your volume is down. You should have told me earlier also. Anyways. Yeah. So the question is that if this A root 2 and B root 2, they lie in the same cage, okay, which means this, yeah, there is some case that B root 2 and A root 2 ka decimal parts are, in this k by 10 to the power 6 and k minus 1 by 10 to the power 6. Then we want to show that A root 2 and B root 2 are the same up to the first 6 decimal places, at least. That is okay, but how do you explain it? K is an integer. Yeah. You're taking integer multiples, right? Okay, I can do that. Um, mm-hmm. Right. Um, K minus 1 is changing the last digit. What does that mean? Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Mhm. Uh-huh. Right. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, that's the right. That's fine. That's uh, no, yeah. Mm. Yeah. Well, one way in which I would maybe say is that if you multiply this with 10 raised to the 6, then what do you get? You get 10 raised to the 6 A root 2. This is between, wait, so, 1 minute. 3. Yeah, so you can write it. Ten raised to 7, no? Yeah, yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, yeah. Yes, yeah, yeah, right. So this, so what I've said is slightly incorrect. Yeah, this will only ensure that the first 5 digits is same, but that is a minor thing. But yeah, this will only ensure that the first 5 digits are the same. But to be able to explain that clearly is important. So let us say that this a root 2. Let us say that this is equal to. Uh, will it work? Uh, Yeah, the first 6 remains the same. Yeah, that's because we cannot take the endpoint. Yeah, that's what I was going to say that time. Yeah, right, right. Yeah, that is right. So, but then, yeah, for safety, you can take 7, but I think that's correct. Yeah, right. But just to, if I want to just convince myself actually. Yeah, right, right. So but that's a very minor thing. So it's not a, you can just take 7. Yeah, it's okay. But the point is, I want to just, so if there are these 6 places, and let's say that there is 7th and so on, then when you multiply this by 10 to the 6, okay, then what happens? Right, this becomes this number a1, a2, a3, a4, a5, a6 dot a7 and so on. Okay, but the same thing, but let's see what happens to b, right? uh, so so for b, what will happen is you will get b1, b2, b3 till b6, and then b7, b8, dot dot dot. Okay, yeah, but both these things are between, let's say, 123 to the power 10 6, and maybe one side can be equal. No, so this is between 123 and 122, and this is also between 123 and 122, right? So what does this mean? It means that the difference between these two numbers is less than 1, right? It means that the difference between this and this is less than 1, strictly less than 1. And that means the first 6 digits have to be same. It means that b1 to b3, b1 to b6, and a1 to a, that has to be the same number, right? Is that fine? Yeah. So then this works, right? Means 6 is enough. So you get this minus, right? This has to be, I mean, as you can say, modulus of this. Let's say the a1 is guy is bigger, right? Then we want to say that this thing is less than 1, which means it is 0 point something something, right? Which means that the first, no, I'm not, but I'm not taking 7, but I'm taking 10 to the power 6 only, right? It has infinitely many digits. Okay. No, k is an integer. So why is that? No, but I mean, it could be any k, right? It could be any integer k. How does it? Okay, yeah, it doesn't matter. But you see, what I'm just trying to convince that this is k and k minus 1, right? So the difference is less than 1. So what is, and the difference, right? Yeah. Okay, never mind. So that's okay. But yeah, this is the one way to see it. Okay. Maybe the other better way to see these things is you can actually, and this was useful in many other places earlier in other classes, but what I am just thinking here is you can just think of how we construct expansions at all. So, or is that no, let's not go into that. It will just take a lot of time, I think. Yeah. So this is fine. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So let's move on. So now let us get into this. I think, yeah, this has a name. I don't know. It's called Dirichlet's theorem or Kroneker's theorem. One guy, one of them definitely, but I don't remember. Okay. Yeah. So the second application I want to do is also number theoretic. Okay, but it is very fundamental. Okay, very fundamental number theory. So maybe I can call it this is a second application, and this is a Diophantine equation. Okay, a Diophantine equation. So I just say it's a Diophantine equation. So what do we want to say? Diophantine equation means that you will have an equation in which you are looking for integer solutions. Okay, so let's say that I gave this equation. Let's say if it is 2x plus 6y equal to 1. Okay, and you're looking for integers x and y which satisfy this. Okay, find the integer solution. So can anyone find integer solutions? To this. So you want integers x and y which will give you this 1. Right? So there is no integer solutions. Is that right? So can anyone else explain why there is no, because now we know there is no integer solution. Quickly, just a small reason why there is no integer solutions. Like you put any integer, you will never get 1 there. Because the left hand side is even, right? This left hand side is even. Certainly you can never get 1, right? Yeah, so in general, if I have ax plus by equal to 1, yeah. So integer, I'm not asking for natural number solution. That will obviously not exist, okay? But integer solutions, okay? So if this thing has integer solutions, okay? If it has integer solutions, I'm not saying it has integer solutions. If it has integer solutions, then that implies that the GCD of A and B is 1. There's nothing about this. This is simple, right? I mean, there cannot be a common divisor to A and B, right? Otherwise, it will survive in ax plus by, and you will never get 1. Is this point clear to everyone? Yeah, this is simple, right? This is just a small thing. Okay, because any divisor, any common divisor will remain. Okay, common divisors, that's a good thing about common divisors, they remain. But the key thing here is we want to go in the other way. That is the fundamental thing. We want to say that if the GCD of A and B is 1, then there are integer solutions. Now, some of you might have seen this. Yeah, this is also called Bizout theorem, but I don't usually call it that for because some other reason. But yeah, this is in books, this is called Bizout theorem. Because Bizout theorem is usually some other theorem. If you Google, you will see. But yeah, this is also, you have to Google, I think, Bizout's. Let me just Google, just give me a second. I don't know what comes. So if I just Google Bizout's theorem or Bizout's theorem. Yeah, so I'll just show you on the screen. Just give me 1 second, okay? And this is just fun, okay? So I just Googled Bizout's theorem and you see what comes. Okay, a statement in algebra geometry concerning. So you may get confused, but yeah, I think Bezout's identity is better. Okay, sorry, because I changed it, right? So yeah. Okay, so that's just the fun. So you just see this is, so what I just did, I just Googled Bezout's theorem, and yeah, so you can see. Can you see? Yeah, can you guys see? The Google Bezout theorem and something other, some strange thing comes, right? In algebra geometry concerning common zeros from polynomials. Okay, so this is the reason why I don't, because it's very confusing sometimes. I think it's called Bezout's identity is better. Okay, I think this is the theorem. So you can see here you will find many generalizations and many other interesting things, all solutions, describing them, and so on and so on. And it holds in many, I think. Okay, so anyways, let's come back. Yeah. So this is just a small lemma. This is simple lemma. Wait, so where is the Zoom screen? Meeting controls. Oh wait, where did my Zoom go? Wait. Okay, because I shouldn't have stopped sharing that thing. Yeah, okay, now it's back. I will share. Okay. So now you guys can see. Okay, so we want to say that whenever the GCD of A and B is 1, then you can find integer solutions. Okay. Obviously, you can always do that in an ad hoc way, but we want to prove that you can always do it. And the interesting thing is you want to prove it combinatorially. This is usually never done combinatorially if you see in the number theory book. But if you see something like Arthur Angel, then you will see this proof, which I'm going to try to do. Let's see. So the point is that let's do an example first. Okay, so if I give something like 2x plus 3y equal to 1. Yes, and there is a big merit to that kind of proof, because that kind of proof actually will give you the solutions. Yeah, you will get the solution. You'll be able to describe all solutions. You can do a lot of analysis there. Okay, but what we are going to do, we will just maybe existence, but this has other merits, because just the existence needs less structure, and that means that you can generalize this to many other things where division does not exist. Okay, but so it is a two-way trade-off. But yeah, but if I give you 2x plus 3y equal to 1, then obviously we know solutions. Yeah, so yeah, so don't need to ask this. This is just simple like this. But these are simple, but the best thing about this result is that if I give you any x and y, for which you may not be able to think of solutions quickly, if I give you any x and y, this has a solution. You may not be able to find it so simply. Can you find a quick solution? Yeah, I mean, if you know the algorithm, then you can, but otherwise it's not easy to see. So that's the good thing about this result. Okay, we are claiming that you will always have solutions to this kind of thing. Okay, we are saying that, see, there's nothing to remember here. There's nothing to memorize here, kind of try to remember, because see, the only obstruction to having a solution, the only obvious obstruction to having a solution is when 56 and 101 would have a common factor. That was the obvious obstruction, would have been, but there is no common factor. Okay, and we are saying that that obvious obstruction is the only obstruction. If that is not present, then there is a solution. Okay, so that's all I'm saying. Okay. So does everybody understand the importance of this result? Okay, this will give solutions to the simplest type of equations. Okay, and this is the beginning of number theory. Any result in number theory you ask me to prove in elementary number theory, I can prove you from this result. Any result you ask me, Chinese remainder theorem, Euler's theorem, any result you study, you can always prove it from this result. Okay, up till at least some to some extent at least. Okay, that's how good important this is. So let's contemplate about a proof. Again, this is not going to be simple because this is a, yeah, it's a theorem. So just take a minute. I'll just come. Okay, just think. Yeah, then I'll give some hints. Okay, so any ideas? Think of A and B as numbers. Okay, no idea. See, how do you convert this to a pigeonhole type? Is everybody okay with the variable A and B? Or should I put some number? Let's put some number. We'll not lose anything. We want to convert this to a pigeonhole type thing. Okay, so that's, I mean, because I also don't remember the proof, but I know that we are going to do this by pigeonhole principle. So we'll convert this to a pigeonhole type problem. Okay, so how will you convert it to a pigeonhole? So basically you will want to show that something. Yes, yes. Sorry. D. Sorry. So instead of 1, you want to take D? I cannot hear you. Wait. Huh. D. Oh, sorry. No. Say that again. I didn't understand. Because yeah, that is. But see, let's just convert this to a pigeonhole type question. Okay, what does it mean? It means that we want to show that some. Okay, so we want to show that 56 divides something in this sequence 1 1 minus 103 1 minus 103 times 2 1 minus 103 times 3 and so on. So do you guys agree this is like a pigeonhole type reformulation, right? We are changing the y and we want to show that one thing in this list, 56 will divide. Does it look more familiar to a pigeonhole type setting? Okay. Does it? Everybody's on board? Uh, okay, okay, yeah. So we just want to convert this like this. 56 divides something. Okay. Now, how do we show that 56 divides something in this list? So the one is a problem. Otherwise, you can just say the answer. Yeah. So 56 divides 1 minus 103 times n for some n. This is what we want to show. So just consider remainders and so on and see. So you have this infinite sequence, so you can try to consider remainders when divided by 56. Yeah, let's see. So let's just try. Okay, let's see. So we understand that there will be two terms. Okay, there will be, this may not work, but this is the first thing that comes to my mind. Okay, there will be two terms. There will be two terms A and B, meaning that there will be two terms like this, A, and 1 minus 103 times B, that is times B, such that, yeah, which leave the same remainder when divided by 56. Yeah, which leave same remainder when divided by, this is the same principle that we had used last time when we were trying to prove some other divisibility results. Okay. So what does this now mean? This means that 56 divides this thing. Right. Is that right? We get that 56 divides this thing. Does it solve our problem? Let's see. We get that 56 divides 103 times b minus a. But is it any good? No, it doesn't seem to me, right? Because I mean, what? This anybody could have said this, right? You take b minus a to be 56. So what did I gain? Seems to be nothing. So now you guys have to think. The standard way did not work, I think. No, fully divide you cannot guarantee, right? But I mean, all I'm saying is that if you have this infinite list of numbers, you cannot say that one of them will be divisible by 56, right? Necessarily, right? Or what you can say is that two of them will leave the same remainder when divided by 56. Right, because if you consider, if you consider the remainders as the cages, just to say this, so that if you consider the remainders as the cages, then two of them will fall in the same cage. You cannot say that two of them, or you cannot say one of them will fall in 0. You cannot say that every cage will be filled. That is cannot be said in general, though that's what we want to say, but we're not able to say so far. But we can say that two of them will fall in the same case. That's all I'm saying here. What remainder, that I'm not able to say. But this does not help us. At least it seems like it doesn't do the job. So then what should we do? What have I not done well here? What can I do better here? If I have this one here, the first one, now if I go to so far, so on, I go to 103 times 57. Is this term 103 times 1 minus 103 times 57 any useful? This is not a useful term, right? Because this gives the same remainder when divided by 1. I saw that. Okay, he is left also. He is having some problems. So do you guys see this? That term 1 minus 103 times 57, that has the same remainder, that has the remainder of 1 only, right? When divided by 56. Is it right? Because you can just, you understand, right? Because you can write this as 1 minus 103 times, oh, no, sorry. No, that's wrong. So nobody said it. This times 56. This has the same remainder, right? Maybe this has the remainder 1 when divided by 56, right? So this kind of term is useless. It doesn't add anything to the picture, right? So we are going to remove this thing, and we are only going to consider terms till, I could have said that directly, that just consider till 55, but I just wanted to give a reason that doesn't help you to maybe think, but just to, only consider till here, and now try to apply pigeonhole principle. This is also the big lesson in this hidden, that you should apply pigeonhole principle on an optimized list. That's why sometimes we ask, now, okay, how many terms do you have to go? How far do you have to go? Those answering that exactly sometimes can be very useful. Or but otherwise, but let's try to just do it. Only consider this list of 56 numbers. So do you guys see there are 56 numbers here that we are looking at? Okay. And now what can you say when you apply PHP on this? There are these cages, 0, which is eagerly waiting. We want something to go to 0. Okay. And then there's 1. And then there is 55. There are 56 remainders, 56 numbers. If anyone is not following or something, finding it too hard, tell me. Okay, I should know that. But you have to give more explanation, because there are only 56 numbers and we have 56 remainders. So so you cannot directly say that two of them will give the same remainder. But it's starting from 0. But then you're right, because the remainder cannot be 0, or at least we should assume that, right? Let us assume that the remainder cannot be 0. Okay, because if the remainder is 0, then there is nothing to do. You see, again, this thing we have seen in the past, but that doesn't matter. This is the thing, okay? If some branch does the problem, you forget that branch and you focus on the other thing, the simpler, the more specific thing. That is very important, okay? Very important. We cannot try to take the whole thing at once, right? So we forget this cage. We abandon this cage. And then we try to do. And now we will say that there is, writing it formally, what you guys have already said, there is A and B such that 1 minus 103 times A and 1 minus 103 times B leave same remainder when divided by 56. So now what can we say? And remember, this A and B is, this we should understand that this A and B is less than 56 and more than equal to 1. So again, same remainder, whenever you see same remainder, you can just convert it to a divisibility statement, right? Because you may not see the end result right now. You may not see where we are going, but if you see this statement that two things leave the same remainder, then that just means that their difference is divisible by 56. Okay, A minus B is less than 56. Okay, A minus B is less than 56. 56 divides this. Something seems wrong, right? 56 dividing this seems strange. Yes, yeah, so it is not possible. But you also need to say that because 56 has nothing to do in terms of factors, has nothing to do with 103. That is the thing, because 56 and 103 are co-prime. That is the key. So now you know that this is all about just A and okay, so there is a bad notation here, but I'm just saying that this 56 and 103 can be replaced by any two numbers which are co-prime. Yeah, Unab, is it clear? Aparna, is it clear? This is the key, right? You can just replace this A and B with, 56 and 103 with anything, two things which are co-prime. Then this is just the standard thing about co-primes, right? This is the standard thing about co-prime. This is maybe the only thing about co-primes, right? That you can just reduce this situation to A minus B. But this is also not possible, not possible. And this is what we wanted. We wanted contradiction. Done, right? You have proved a big result in such a simple way. It's a massive result in some sense, right? I mean, it's not nothing hard. I'm not saying it's hard in that sense, but it's the beginning of number theory, and it begins with this combinatorial application proof. Okay. This is called Bezout's identity, Bezout's theorem. If you Google, you will get many applications of it, but I'm not going into that because that goes into number theory. So we'll not go into that now. You can explore and see if you want to solve problems later. So does everybody understand this? Okay. So yeah. So let's not do anything. Yeah, let's not prove any more results today. We've done 2 results. I think it is fine. Let's keep it light, little light today, so that you can absorb these 2 results. Yeah, so that is what it is. Yeah, I did plan to do other questions, but maybe I'll do. So if anyone has any questions, maybe I can take first. Any pigeonhole principle questions? So Unab, last class you had sent me questions, but you were not there. So, but I solved them. Okay, I solved them in the class. I have not uploaded it. I should have done it. I will do it just now. Then you can see it. Okay, because you were not there in the class. So I don't know. Yeah. Okay. The pigeonhole problems you had sent. No, then you didn't come. Anyways, so that's okay. You can see it later. Yeah. Yeah. So what should we do next time? Yeah. So now I am thinking of doing some coloring applications in pigeonhole principle. Okay, so there are some problems in pigeonhole principle. I mean, some problems related to coloring which can be done with this idea of pigeonhole principle. Okay, I will just give one problem which you guys can try first. Okay, and then next time we can discuss this and similar questions. And so yeah, so next class is thinking. Yeah. So Ishana, is your exam over? 24. Why such a long time? Is it always like that? Oh, so then you must be getting gaps, right? So then